What if we could see a serious illness coming years before it ever really takes hold? And what if we could do more than just see it? What if we could actually step in and change its path? Well, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating study that asks that exact question about bipolar disorder.
So, to set the stage here, get this. Researchers found that a staggering 50 to 66%, that's somewhere between half and two-thirds of all adults with bipolar disorder, say their illness actually started before they were even 18. That's just a huge number, and it tells us that the seeds of this disorder are often planted during those really critical years of childhood and adolescence.
And that leads to the really powerful question at the heart of all this research. If the signs are showing up that early, could we actually get in there and help these young people before the full disorder ever develops? Could we literally rewrite their future? That's the challenge this study decided to take on.
Okay, but to even try to intervene, you first have to know what you're looking for, right? And that brings us to a super important idea called the bipolar prodrome. Think of it as the period of early, kind of subtle warning signs that pop up before the main event.
A prodrome is basically the body's early warning system. And just look at the timeline here. For bipolar disorder, these signs can appear as much as a full decade before the illness fully manifests. That's not a brief window. That is a massive period of opportunity.
And the stakes for catching this early, they are incredibly high. The research is just crystal clear on this. The longer you wait before that first treatment, the worse the outcome tends to be. We're talking more severe depression, longer depressive episodes, and just less time spent healthy and stable over a person's lifetime. So getting in early isn't just a nice idea, it could be completely life-changing.
All right, so we've got this window of opportunity. But that brings up the next huge challenge for the researchers. How in the world do you scientifically pinpoint the kids who are genuinely at high risk without accidentally mislabeling kids who aren't? It's a really delicate and super critical process.
So the team came up with a very specific checklist. They looked for kids between 9 and 17 who already had a diagnosis, either major depressive disorder or something called unspecified bipolar disorder, which means they're showing some signs but don't meet the full criteria yet. On top of that, they had to be dealing with mood symptoms right now, and, this is key, they had to have a close family member with a bipolar 1 or 2 diagnosis. It was that combination of their own symptoms plus genetic risk that was the magic formula.
And believe me, this selection process was tough. The team started out with 270 potential kids, but after some really careful screening, they ended up excluding more than half of them. In the end, only 133 were actually enrolled. This just goes to show you they weren't casting a wide net, they were on a highly focused hunt for the right candidates. So they've got their group, the right participants are identified, and now the real experiment can begin. The researchers set up this head-to-head comparison, a tale of two therapies, to see which one could actually make a real difference.
Okay, so in one corner, you've got Family-Focused Treatment, or FFT-HR. This is the intensive program, 12 sessions over 4 months, and it gets the entire family involved in learning new skills. In the other corner, you have Enhanced Care, or EC, which was designed to be like a really good version of care as usual. It had half the sessions, only 6, and it was a mix of family and individual meetings. The big question is, does that extra intensity and that deep family focus really matter?
So what exactly is family-focused treatment? Well, it's not just sitting around and talking. It's a very active, skills-based program. First up, psychoeducation. The family basically learns to become mood detectives, spotting warning signs and stress triggers. Then comes communication training, where they practice real, concrete skills to cut down on conflict at home. And finally, they learn problem-solving techniques so they can tackle big issues together as a team. It's like giving the whole family a brand new toolkit.
And now we get to what is, for me, the most mind-blowing part of this whole study. The researchers didn't just want to see if therapy helped with symptoms. They wanted to know if they could actually see the therapy's effect on the brain itself using fMRI scans. Now, to get this, we need a quick tour of the brain's emotion network. I want you to think of the amygdala as the brain's super-sensitive smoke detector. It goes off anytime it senses emotional danger. Then you've got the prefrontal cortex. That's the brain's control center. It's the part that analyzes the situation and decides whether to calm the alarm down. In mood disorders, that smoke detector can be way too overactive, and the control center can be a little less effective at its job. So here's the multi-million-dollar question. Can therapy, talking and learning new skills, can it actually strengthen the connection between the brain's control center and its smoke detector?
can it physically change how the brain regulates emotions?
To test this, they had the kids do 2 specific tasks while inside the fMRI scanner. The first was a face task, where they were shown faces with different emotions to see how their brain automatically reacted. The second was really clever. It was a problem-solving task where they had to think about real-life family conflicts they'd recently had. This was designed to directly poke at the very brain circuits that the family-focused treatment was trying to strengthen.
And that brings us to the researchers' core prediction, their big bet. They hypothesized that the more intensive family-focused treatment would do a better job of calming down that overactive amygdala, the smoke detector, and beefing up the activity in the prefrontal cortex, the control center, when compared to the standard enhanced care.
So let's zoom out for a second. Why does a study like this matter so much? Well, it's because it represents a huge shift in how we even think about treating mental illness. For decades, the model has pretty much been reactive. We wait for an illness to become a full-blown crisis, and then we try to treat it. This research is all about flipping that script. It's a pioneering effort in a proactive model where we step in during that early warning phase to try and prevent the worst from ever happening. And this quote from the researchers themselves just says it all. They aren't just trying to treat symptoms. They want to understand the deep-down processes, both in behavior and in the brain, that come before the illness, and then see if they can change those processes to improve a person's entire life.
Ultimately, this study is bigger than just bipolar disorder. It's like a proof of concept for a whole new way of doing things. By finding kids who are at risk and giving them targeted skills-based tools before a crisis hits, we might be able to change not just their symptoms, but the actual wiring of their brains. So we'll leave you with this to think about. Could this proactive approach be the future of mental health care?